Good afternoon to one and all. Next topic is indirect method of proof. This is Dr. K. Pushpa Rani, Associate Professor, Department of CSE, MLR Institute of Technology. So, in this lecture, we are going to discuss about what is the indirect method. Up to now, whatever the method we discussed, those are direct methods. Now, we will go for the indirect method and we can understand that indirect method by taking some examples. So, what is the indirect method? So, the method of using the conditional proof and the inconsistency are all called as a indirect method, or it is the proof by contradiction. Indirect method of proof, that means we are using conditional CP, or it is a rules of inference. Rules of inference is the direct method of proof, and what is the conditional proof, or it is the proof by contradiction or inconsistency, those are considered as a indirect method. So, what you are going to show that in the case of indirect method, we can show that the conclusion is a false. Conclusion is a false. But in this case of indirect method of proof, we are going to take some additional premise as a negation of C. So, in the case of negation of C is nothing but a additional premise. As a additional premise. That additional premise can be taken and we have to show that the set of premises are inconsistent. Then we can show that it is a contradiction. The assumption, the initial assumption is negation C as true does not hold. We can show that negation C does not hold. What is C conclusion? The negation of C means the conclusion cannot be derived. Then we can say that it is the indirect method of proof. Consider the example. Show that negation P and Q follows from negation P and negation Q. So, what you are going to take it as the additional premise? We are going to take the conclusion. What is the conclusion? The conclusion is negation P or negation Q. So, the conclusion is negation P or Q. Apply one more negation as an additional premise. Apply one more negation as an additional premise and show that this additional premise leads to contradiction. So, for this indirect method of proof, whatever the conclusion that has given, add one more negation that does not hold in the set of premises, then we can say that it is the indirect method of proof. So, what you are going to introduce? Negation P or Q. It is an conclusion. For this conclusion, we can add the negation that becomes the additional premise, and that additional premise can lead to the contradiction. So, consider the rule number 1, premise number 1, negation P and Q. It is also exist in the set of premises. It is a assumed premise, okay, additional premise. So, we can call it as a rule P. Next, again continue in the same step. So, premise number is 1, step number 2. So, negation P is equivalent to P. That means negation P is equivalent to P means P and Q. This is implied or it is derived. From where it is derived? Step number 1, it is derived. It is derived, we can call it as rule T. Next, again 1. According to the implication 1, P and Q is written either P or it is a Q. According to the conclusion, according to set of premises, we have to take either P or it is a Q from the implication number 1. So, that is the derived. So, we can call it as rule T, and it is what is the rule we are going to apply for the step number 2. We can apply that too. So, we can use the rule number 2. Next, 3 is completed. The step number 4. So, again take the next premise, negation P and negation Q. Negation P and negation Q. It is already present in the set of premises. We can call it as rule P. According to the implication number, negation P or negation Q, as either negation P or it is a negation Q according to the proof. So, from this we are going to take the negation P. So, that is implication number 1. Applying the same thing for the rule. Step number 4, it is derived. We can call it as rule T. So, from the step number 1 and step number 4, 1 and 4, P and negation P is derived. We can combine. According to the I9, we can combine the source set of premises. That is step number 3 consisting of P, step number 5 consisting of negation P, both are to be combined together according to the implication number 9. Then what is the derived premise? P and negation P. P and negation P is a false, so our assumption is wrong. Then the negation P is false. What we are going to show? Negation conclusion does not hold. Means the set of premises can be derived as wrong or it is a contradiction. We can say that it is the indirect method of proof. Consider one more example. Using the indirect method of proof, show that P tends to Q, Q tends to R, negation P or P or derives or. Derives or is nothing but a conclusion. So from this conclusion does not hold. That means negation or can be taken as an additional proof and the conclusion or and negation or is false. We have to show that it is the wrong. Whatever the conclusion that has given, that can be taken as a additional premise. Consider the implication number 1, step number 1, P tends to Q, it is exist, we can call it as rule P. Again take the next new implication or new premise, we can take the step number as 2, then Q tends to R. That is also exist in the set of premises, we can call it as rule P. Next, from 1 and 2. From 1 and 2, P tends to Q, Q tends to R is present, Q get cancelled, P tends to R is derived. So, it is called as rule T. Then apply rule number 1 and 2, implication number 13, P tends to R is derived. Then we are going to take the new premise, step number has to be changed to 4, negation or can be taken as an additional premise. It is also exist in the set of premises, we can call it as rule P. Next, from 1, 2 and then 4, P tends to R, negation or. Both are get cancelled. The leftover is negation as well as P. Negation P according to the implication number 12 and applying the same thing for the rule number 4. It is derived. We can call it as rule T. Next, 5 is completed. It is the new implication. It is not derived. Step number 6. That is the implication number is also 6. What is the next premise? P and R. That is exist in the set of premises. We can call it as rule P. From 1 to 4, 6. Negation P, P and R. What you are going to do? You are going to write it as a derive. What is the common preposition? P is common preposition. It is derived as a or according to the implication number 10. And then step number 5 and step number 6. So what is the premise that is derived? Or is derived according to the rule T, implication number 10. It is derived. We can call it as rule T. 5 and 6 we have to apply the implication. So or is derived from step number 1 to 4, 6. Then negation or is derived from 4. The common set of premises are 1 to 4, 6. Or and negation are according to the implication number 9. And then step number 4 and 7, or and negation or is the conclusion. Whatever the assumption we are going to take, that is the wrong, and this will be leads to the contradiction. It is the indirect method of proof. In the case of indirect method of proof, what we are going to take, whatever the conclusion that has given can be taken as a additional premise. For this additional premise, apply the negation. This conclusion can be leads to the contradiction at the last step. Then we can say that it is the indirect method of proof. We can understand by take some example. Thank you.